Yo, what's going on? This is the NOC, the Nerds of Color, and we are back with another ShoPowSho. I am your Babinka boy, your dough bro, leader of the Holla Holla Homies and the Cine Gang Gang. I am Kuya P, aka Patrick Michael Strange. I am here with the amazing Ates. What's up, Ates?
Hey.
Great to see y'all. How are y'all doing? Holiday season, all the shopping done?
No, I haven't even started.
Ain't even start yet. What?
I'm
Come
like,
on now.
I had like a jingle all the way moment earlier
Oh
with Keith. He was like, "You ordered that." I gotta like look around. You ordered that thing, right? And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Yeah, but you told me you got it." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. No, I didn't get it."
Yo, we did a lot of it last night for us. Like, you know, we made sure like my daughter was in the other room playing Roblox, and was like, all right, let's put this order in. Okay, we good. Okay, let's. You know, you gotta find time because she's like, when you have kids. Well, I'm sure you already know, Tina. They just on your neck, like, what's going on? What you doing? Blah blah blah. You know, crazy.
Like, can you go somewhere?
You know what I'm saying? Like, go play with something. Do something. Go out. I don't know. Crazy. Are you all done with everything, Tina? Or are you just kind of just chilling? Not because you got this whole big move to Japan coming up, so you just kind of just calming down right now. Was that?
Hi, Kat, and doing.
Oh,
fine.
I mean, I'm sorry, Kat. My bad.
He doesn't even know us.
I know.
No,
damn.
don't play me like that. You know I love y'all. Don't play me like that. I love y'all.
Yeah. It's been just really busy with the move. We're not doing Christmas, which is something that we do every year, and then we do it anyway. So I just ordered everyone in my family really wild socks with my nephew's face on him. And so
that's cool.
We're all just gonna get like this wild package of socks, and I'll be like, and now you have something that ties us together as I flee the country. So
That's awesome. That's really cool. Okay, cool. I love it. It's great to connect, and it's great to just do stuff that takes our mind off of this COVID quarantine life. So I love it because, you know, last time we started, what you been up to? Which was funny. I ain't gonna lie. You had me laughing when I was watching the recording back on, or maybe that even wasn't the last episode. I don't know, because I've been editing so much. When you're in the editing game, when you're a producer, just everything runs together. And this guy knows very much so. I'm very excited to bring on our guests this week. A man who's a brilliant actor, amazing producer, got an eye for everything. His writing is top notch. He's just gonna be blowing up soon. I feel he's already, you know, laying it down, winning, I think, daytime Emmys and shit, producing. But we'll get into that. You're gonna feel him. My brother Kuya, Francis Abbey. What's up, Francis? Come on in here. Join the squad.
Thank you. Wow. I need to bring you everywhere.
Hey,
Introduce me when I walk into
being
rooms and stuff like that. That's fantastic.
Didn't you win a daytime Emmy? I think
I've won. So I've won. I work in local news, and so throughout the United States, it's all part of the same governing body, right? Which is NATAS, the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, right? So the Emmys, the primetime Emmys, and all that, it's all one big Emmy family, right? But then the country is divided up into regions. So DC, Richmond, not Philadelphia, Baltimore. So all of those are like one region. So I've won regional Emmys, and yeah, I've got 4 of them, which is cool, which is very cool. So I got this. I don't have the statue here. I gave them to my mom. So I'll talk. There's a story about that I'll tell later.
Beautiful. I love it. But yo, Kuya, Francis, man, it's been a long time since I've seen you. Not just because of COVID, just because professional careers, you know, you just kind of take over. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Family, life, and everything. But it's great to see you, man. It's been forever. How are you holding it down in these COVID-19 quarantine times, man?
You know, it's funny. I've been working from home, so this is actually my home office that you're seeing right now. And
Lord of the Rings.
yeah, I got my Lord of the Rings poster there. And then my Lolo. That's my Lolo.
I was gonna ask. I was like, is that Lolo?
Yeah, that's my Lolo, painted by my mom.
Oh.
So like 50 years ago or something. I never met my Lolo, but I have this now. I actually just got it framed. It was like in my parents' garage for years, and then my mom pulled it. I said, "This is great!" So I got it framed. And now
that's amazing. That's
absolutely. I moved it especially for I like did art direction for this.
Hey!
Like you can see my
What?
parole back there that
The angle, like
Yeah. I put the parole back there, and then like I had to light because I couldn't, like, people would get like seizures and stuff if I just like let it go.
yeah.
So I had to like unplug it, and then I put a light on it. So
That's
yeah.
Emmy worthy.
That's right. That's right. We'll get this. We're gonna get the podcast an Emmy. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah. So but other than that, I mean, working from home was an adjustment to start with, but it's been I've been focusing on self-improvement. I'm like an introvert by nature. So it's like, yeah, it sucks not being able to see people. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. So like, you know, for me, I just, it's great. I've been very productive.
Nice.
I've lost weight, you know, like, actually I see a lot of people losing weight. It's really funny because everybody was like, oh my God, pandemic. I'm just eating and eating. Everybody I see is losing weight. It's so weird. They're like,
I've been working out
I've
every
lost
day,
50
bro.
pounds and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you? There you go. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's got like different phases. There's like the eat everything phase. And then they're like, okay, this is not good. I want to start working out or something like that. It's like you make your new pandemic resolution at a certain point. And then,
It's old and you got to shed. So, you know,
right. Yeah.
it's hibernating season now. So,
Yeah.
bulking season. It's okay.
And then, you know, writing wise, I've got back into that. I'm studying Tagalog. So, yeah, just like taking on a whole bunch of self-improvement projects during the pandemic. So then when it's finally over, I'll be prepared to face the world again.
Awesome. Good. Great to hear you're being productive, man. Handling business. I love it, bro. So I'm going to throw it to Tina. Have you seen the show, bro? How we kick it off. So go ahead, Tina, hit him with it.
So we want to know, where are you from?
Yeah.
But more specifically, like, where are your parents from?
Okay. See, I get the shots too tight here, but there you go.
Ah,
Yeah, my
nice.
mom's from Iloilo, and she came here to the U.S. in around 1970. And she and my dad, who is an American, I am the same like blend as Patrick.
Yeah.
Like my dad's like German, English, Irish, right? And
Over here.
Yeah.
so they met at mass, you know, in church. So very Catholic upbringing. But I had a very weird upbringing in that my dad was an engineer for a Catholic nursing home.
Oh, wow.
And we lived on the grounds. So I had like German nuns as like my extended family. And it was very isolated. And I mean, I had friends. I went to school and everything like that. And I had friends, but like there was no neighborhood kids. And so it's really weird because when I talk about my Filipino experience, it was like my mom. That's it.
Yeah.
My mom was like the one Filipino person I saw on a regular basis. And she's very assimilated. Like she does not have, you know, how like Joe Coy will imitate his mom or something like that. It's like, no, like, my mom doesn't have like an accent. She never struggled for English words or anything like that. She speaks the language like almost perfectly. There's a few words I'll tease her about, but that's it. I mean, you know, that she's a very smart woman. You're not going to believe this. She's a nurse. Like very hard to believe, but her dad was very old school, and he did not want her to become a doctor, though she could have been. She'd have been a very good doctor. She actually was a nurse practitioner by the time she retired, so she could write prescriptions and all that kind of thing. So she was like practically a doctor, but not quite.
Okay. As close as you.
As close as you can get, right? And then in January 2019, I actually got to go back with her. It was my 4th trip to the Philippines, and it was her 50th high school reunion. So I went with her. My dad did not go, and he ended up having a heart attack while we were away.
Oh my God.
So it terrified us. We were in Manila, and got a call from my brother, midnight Manila time, and he's like, "Yeah, Dad had a heart attack." I was like, "What?" And he said he's doing okay now, which was kind of he was understating it to just not worry us too much, because I don't know if it was. I think it was after my dad had actually flatlined. He had like been given like too much morphine, and then like we're finding all this out later, and I'm like, what? Yeah. So it was pretty crazy. And my mom actually ended her trip. She was supposed to stay. I was going to stay for 2 weeks. She's going to stay for a month. but we ended up coming back together, and I think that was for the best because my mom actually got sick over there, and was like, by the time we got back to Dulles Airport, I was like, Mom, are you okay? Like, she was in such rough shape, and she took like a few weeks to recover, actually. So my dad, who just had the heart attack, is almost nursing my mom at that point. And I said, like, boy, this is rough.
Wow.
Damn. Wow.
But it's all good. We're all good now.
Good.
And that trip was the best one because the first 2 times I went, I was small enough to be carried. I went at like I was 1 and 2 when I went over the first 2 times. Then I went back when I was like 19, and I was just a smart ass kid. But it was like, it was such a whirlwind experience that, you know, you don't have time to kind of like absorb your surroundings and really get to know the people you're with. We spent most of our time this time in Iloilo, in the village my mom is from. So I met for the first time a lot of my cousins who were not born yet when I was there the last time. And I'm like Kuya and Manong. And that like that there, after like a lifetime of my Filipino-ness being this thing that's part of me, but never natural, right?
Yeah.
That was like the kind of the moment where I felt like they embraced me, you know? Because I heard you guys talking about it, where it's like this cliquish thing. I wouldn't make Tina cry.
You are.
Yes.
But that was like that was the moment, because it my whole life. And as you guys said, this is why when I watched episode 2, and as you were talking, it was like my first time hearing people who are like me, right, talking about their experience, where it's like your Filipino-ness is always this, you're neither this nor that, right? So you're in this weird in-between space. And so that was the moment, because there's a cliquishness to Filipinos, right? Or to certain Filipinos, let me say that. Other Filipinos are the warmest people on earth, right? And will embrace you. And that's how I felt like when I'm meeting my cousins, and and even though in some cases there was a language barrier, I just felt a connection to them. And I felt like myself, I'm like a mature person with actual things to contribute. Whereas like before I'm 19, it's like I can't do, you know, there wasn't a whole lot I could do. I played saxophone for a long time, and I had my saxophone, brought it all the way over to the Philippines. And you know how it is. Like if you have any kind of talent, the Filipino parents, the family, like, oh, play, you know? Yeah. So I did that on my 3rd trip when I was 19. But this time I became a really good photographer by that point. And so I'm taking my cousins in touring and like having them model for me. And I'm like taking, you know, photos and stuff like that. And I even like, because I'm so extra, you know, I've got my $3,000 camera, and I've got like my little strobe light and a stand that I like said, I'm bringing this over. I don't care how much room it takes in my suitcase. And I brought it over, and it was great. I'm 100% glad that I did, because I took some really quality photos of them, and that was great. And now, you know, now I want to return. Right. And it's like figuring out how to do it affordably. I still hate the plane ride. The plane ride is the worst because it's so long. Oh, it is a grueling. I mean, there are hard things like torture and stuff like that, I'm sure, but like, but it is tough, like sitting there for 20 hours. And then like our return trip, we actually flew from Iloilo to Manila. And then again, my mom's like health is deteriorating quickly. And so we spend 8 hours in a Manila hotel. At least we had a nice Manila hotel to stay in for 8 hours. And then we go to the airport, and they offer my mom a wheelchair just because she's older. And she's like, oh, no, that's okay. I am so glad they offered her that wheelchair by the end, because every time like they would get her in the airport, they'd bring her a wheelchair, and she needed it by the end because she was not barely walking. And I was like, oh, my God, Mom. But we 8 hours in Manila, and then like just waiting. Then in the airport to Incheon in Korea. And then like, you know, from there, it's like a 13-hour flight. So like all total, it took us like 36 hours to get home. And so it's rough. Man. And, you know, you try to sleep. I cannot sleep on planes. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, I hate it.
It's really hard. So I watched the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy on my return flight. I was like, this will kill 9 hours. And it was great because the Korean Air had like, you know, on demand. And I was like, perfect. So I just ripped through the movies.
It's serious. I go through it.
Yeah. It was, I intend to like watch it every holiday. I was like, oh, what a great, holiday. And I never do it. It's pathetic.
Tolkien told like, I'm always like, oh, you got to read Tolkien like once a year, every summer, read Lord of the Rings. I'm like,
yeah. I'm not even reading. It's like put the Blu-ray in and then just sit for 3.5 hours. It's like, no, can't do it. Busy. And I want to do it because they're great films. But finally I had the perfect excuse. It's like, I'm stuck here on this plane for 13 hours. Perfect. I watched the trilogy. So yeah, I was very happy.
Love it. Yeah. All right. So parents from Iloilo, and so they moved to Maryland?
My mom, yeah.
Okay. How did they meet and come here? How did you end up in the DMV area?
My mom came to study nursing at Catholic University of America in DC. And my dad had settled here. He's originally from upstate New York, Rochester, New York. Actually, that's not upstate, Western New York. You got to distinguish. So, and he's like it's really funny, like the amount of and self-analysis I've done over the years in terms of like where I come from and like, because my dad's a working class guy and I never really like made a whole lot of connections that my dad's this white working class guy. And I am a class migrant. My mom's a professional, right? But I'm like his brothers and sisters for the most part. Well, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. But like his dad was definitely blue collar, right? But like, now I'm a white collar professional. So, kind of looking at all these things. But anyway, he was a religious brother. He was a Catholic brother for a bunch of years. Spent 2 years in Ghana. And I will never figure out how he survived, just given the way he complains about things. But he survived 2 years in Ghana. And it was an amazing experience. And I've seen amazing pictures of him during his time in Ghana. And came back, never took his final vows as a brother. So just kind of, I guess he's a brother dropout, if that's what. But then he was kind of, so in DC, not really sure what he was going to do. He got a job with the nuns, right, which is the sister order of the brothers, the order of brothers and priests that he was in. And he and my mom met at Mass, got married short time later. And I'm born like 9 months exactly after that. Yeah. Awesome. In 1977, Patrick and I are the same age. Yeah. So, so I'm a Marylander virtually my entire life. I spent 2 years in Georgia going to film school at Savannah College of Art and Design. Okay. Great town.
Well, so talk about before you went off to that, because I want to get to that art point, because Filipino moms, they would rather us become lawyers and doctors and all that stuff.
Yeah. My mother definitely made the case. She made the case. And that's I'll tell that story in a bit, but she definitely. So let's talk about young Francis growing up. What were you into? Yeah. And life growing up as a mixed kid. I was a very shy kid, an incredibly shy kid. Not confident, very. I was the nicest kid. Yeah, everybody thought that in class, in school, and everything. And I was one of the smarter kids. I went to a Catholic school, and there was an accelerated class, which was me and like 9 girls. So, and it was like that for a while. It was pretty awkward. It would, for most guys to be a dream, not me. It was just weird. So that was, and then growing up, like I was in an area that was fairly diverse, but like, I think of my grade school classes and stuff like that. There were a few Hispanic kids, or Latinx, as we say now. There were a few Black kids. There was occasionally one Asian kid, other than me, right? Me, the half Asian kid. And then my buddy Michael Wang was there for like, I think 2 years. So there was full-blooded Asian in the class. But it was weird growing up. I mean, because I was, but I look white. And again, talking about that whole thing, a realization I made like maybe earlier this year or last year, is that I am a person of color who's been passing as a white person. I'd never thought of myself in those terms, right? But I realized that's what I am. I've enjoyed white privilege pretty much the whole time, because nobody I've had, I don't want to say numerous instances, but the few instances I've had a thing with the police that just try to be more careful, sir. That's how it ends typically. So I know that's worked in my favor, and then in other situations. But but so growing up, did not have like a lot of Filipinos around me. I did have cousins here, but also very assimilated. There are 7 boys. And in my like immediate or my Filipino family that was here in Maryland with me, and the youngest and I share a birthday, born the exact same day.
Wow.
Now 4 of them are doctors. One's a priest, one's a pilot, and the other one's practical. I mean, he's got a PhD in physical therapy. That's a doctor. So yeah. So very accomplished guys, and very American. None of them speak Tagalog. Well, no, actually, no. The priest learned Tagalog so that he could branch out. But so that my experience was very white. It was a very white upbringing and a very weird upbringing too. Because like I said, I was like kind of isolated. It was very Catholic though. So that part of Filipino-ness, I got that, plenty of that. I've got my Santo Niño up on the shelf over here.
We have our Last Supper.
There you go. Perfect. Yes. My parents have a beautiful hand-carved Last Supper from the Philippines. So it's gorgeous. I grew up around plenty of that. Yeah. My mom's sister, who's the mother of the 7 boys who just passed away last year, Catholic iconography everywhere. Yeah. So much of it. Like they had a chapel in their house because they had a very big house in Potomac, Maryland, which is a really nice area.
Yeah.
They had a chapel. They had an actual chapel in their house.
Wow.
So it was next level.
You want a church is here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And she'd have prayer groups and stuff like that. So that they had that all taken care of. And then my mom was, like the other Filipino thing I think that I would experience growing up is the food. My mom would make Filipino food when I grew up. And when you guys mentioned, you were talking about what's your favorite comfort food? And I was like thinking to myself, I was like, what would mine be? And I was thinking arroz caldo. And then you said corned beef and rice. And I was like, that's it. Oh my God, of course, corned beef and rice. It's like the ultimate. It's like, that was my favorite growing up. And then like, I still love it today. But it is like something like, you don't think like, I don't know, like what's a brand? It's like Libby's, like corned beef or something like that. And it's like, you don't think Filipino when you eat it, but apparently it is. Yeah. And I can confirm, when I was in the Philippines, one of the breakfasts they served, corned beef, eggs, rice. I was like, oh.
Verified comment. It is.
You're right.
That is.
Yeah.
When Tina brought that up, my mind was blown because I never thought that it was ours, like a Filipino thing.
Yeah, right. You don't think about it, like growing
it's
up.
True. I mean, truthfully, because I don't know. I mean, you can buy like that corned beef in a regular grocery store, but like, who the heck else eats it? I don't know. I've never been served corned beef at anybody else's house other than a Filipino, right?
Right. I've only ever seen in like restaurants and things like corned beef hash where it already has in it, and I'm like, nobody ever gisas it like.
And then there's the Irish corned beef and cabbage. I think is an American Irish thing. I don't even think that's like a real Irish thing. It's like an American Irish thing. And then the corned beef as we know it, which is like the ground kind, it comes in the can. We're also big Spam lovers too, which is something I found out later. So you could put that on my list of comfort foods also.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so I mean, like the food growing up, mom would make pancit and things as I was growing up. My Lola lived with us for 5 years, from the time I was 5 to the time I was 10, and she spoke very little English. And it's one of those things that I look back on now. It's like, well, you shouldn't have been such a bratty kid. And I probably wasn't that bratty, but I can my only recollection of Lola is like just being a jerk to my Lola. And, but yeah, it was like that. So communication was an issue at that time. So she got by with like a few words of English. Yeah. My mom says, and this is like funny, Patrick, because I think you said the same where your mom gave up on trying to teach you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was the same with my mom because it wasn't sticking.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you next. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then, and you have my dad speaks only English, then that's all that's spoken in the house. So it's like, yeah. I mean, she was probably trying to teach me, and then presumably I'd learn and then I could speak with her, but it didn't happen. So.
Word.
And her dialect, this is the other thing I find out is that I think the majority of the Filipinos you meet are from an area like near Manila, right?
Yeah.
In Manila or from around Manila. So they all speak Tagalog, right?
Yeah.
But my mom's were my dialect. Then there's like the province, which speaks Hiligaynon, and then Tagalog, which is, so we had a family reunion when I was there, and we had cousins coming from Mindoro, which is also part of the Visayas, but they speak Tagalog there. So when they're around my other cousins who are speaking Hiligaynon, they don't know what they're saying. So we're speaking English because it's the common language.
Great.
So that was pretty eye-opening, just the number of dialects that exist. So it's pretty crazy. And like my mom's village, you're going to drive 10, 15 miles down to the big city, Iloilo City, and they speak something else. So it's like that level of difference. And it's, those are like fairly close, but you can kind of tell like who's speaking what. And, but you can, if you could imagine like going 15 miles and then suddenly like you're speaking something else, you don't understand what they're saying.
So cool. That answered the question I was going to ask, like I said, about the language and everything.
Yeah.
So when did you want to start learning? Well, like I said, we were white passing, and it really just kind of never came up. But when did you like when did it start to click that you were different and that you wanted to learn? Well, I'm sure you already knew you were different because you're mixed and everything like that, and the Filipino foods and all that. But like when you wanted for yourself, because you're like, for me, going to school, learning about white American history, but then I just knew I was different. So I don't know if I just was already just off the top, like knew this wasn't my history in a way. And how did you seek out to learn Philippine history, or did you, like, I feel like I was just woke off the top and I was like trying to find out what I can, but I couldn't. And we didn't have really internet like we did now. And they made fun of me when I brought up America Online, but it was truly America Online that helps me, Google and search. But we didn't have Google. It was America
Online.
God,
the internet, like I'll talk about that. Cause it's kind of like now as I'm entering this new phase of my life / career, the internet's such a huge thing because it makes the world smaller. But I don't actually know. I can't say like there was suddenly like this burning desire to learn about Filipino culture. I've always been proud of it, even though I didn't like, I was like, yeah, I'm half Filipino. It's like, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, and they'll ask me a bunch of questions about like anything. And I'll be like, oh, I don't know. But
where can we get the lumpia?
Yeah, right. Yeah, people understand lumpia. But I mean, that didn't exist though, because for years, like now in my area, I've got Manila Mart just up the road, and it's funny. The other day, I was like shopping for some stuff. I got Kuya Ja, who I'm plugging here. Amazing food if you're ever in the Rockville area, but you should get him on the show. Hey,
bro, we'll link up and we'll go meet up, and I want to try those spots in your area, man. Yeah, let's do that.
Excellent. And I got a list of people. I'll talk to you. I'll like shoot you a list of people. It's like you should interview these people. But now we got Manila Mart. Like back in the day when my mom was caring for those 7 cousins I told you about when they were young, and she's looking after them, like my tita Mia, she said they would have to drive to Chinatown in DC from like Montgomery County for rice because you couldn't get rice anywhere, right? It's like when Chinatown in DC was legit and it wasn't like a Starbucks with some Chinese characters on it. Like, you actually went there to buy rice. Now it's like you've got Asian markets everywhere. It's like Rockville is now like the new Chinatown. It's like all the Chinese community is like settled there and other places. And then like you got Korean like in Northern Virginia. So I mean, like you got Asian markets everywhere. It's like we're spoiled now, right? And then there's Filipino places all over. Like, so we got Manila Mart. And the other day I went to Manila Mart, and when I couldn't find everything I needed, I went to Palawan. So I was like, I got there in 23 minutes, Manila to Palawan. It's great.
Oh.
But it's, I mean, now there's a lot of it out there, but it's still strange. I'm like on this island where there's like, where's the nearest Filipino? There's like one Filipino family that I know of, like in my immediate area, but I know that there's like strongholds. Like I need to go a little further south in Prince George's County, and then, like
only Jollibee in the area, PG County.
Wheaton. So Moco.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Wheaton, that's right.
Is it open yet? Because that's
I
going to
don't
be
know, bro,
a special
but we
day.
gotta go. You and I,
Yeah.
we gonna have to do that.
All right. Done. We'll do it. Yeah. So what was the original question? I'm going to go off on tangents like crazy.
It always comes back to food.
You're right. It does always come back to food. We could always just assume it's about food.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Say again.
Internet and its role in helping you discover Filipino-ness.
Okay.
Yes.
So I guess like the first like serious effort I made, there was like International Day at school, and I would wear my barong, you know.
Oh,
But then it was like until I think when I was in high school. Now finally there were a couple of other Filipino people there. Well, because I went to an all boys school, all boys Catholic school, so there was a few Filipino guys, and one of them, Gerald Direcla, who I think goes by Gerald Anzures, is actually a DJ in the Philippines now. But he was one guy that I actually tried to get into Filipino culture a little bit. There was like, he was in a club and I went there, and I lasted one day. And I don't know what, like, I think maybe it's just like, because there was always an imposter syndrome thing with me, right? About my Filipino-ness, where I'm just like, it's like, I know this is part of me, but I just don't feel like I belong when I'm here. It's like, I feel like I'm faking it. It's like, I don't understand. And that was always the feeling. So it was difficult. And then in college, in undergrad, they had a semi-self-directed like language study. So I took 2 semesters of Tagalog, and you had like a native speaker who helped you, and you would make audio cassettes, like copies of like the audio cassettes that they had, and you study with a book and stuff like that. And I remember a few phrases from then. Now I'm like, now there's resources galore. And so I'm studying that. And so I'll talk about the internet, because what a game changer that all was. And this is all like, honestly, a lot of this is during the pandemic, because it's like, well, I'm home. I'll look on the internet for, let me see, I want to learn Tagalog and look. But honestly, when I was 19 and in the Philippines, at that point, I think I wanted to be a filmmaker from like my freshman year in college. And I didn't study it until after, and I went to Savannah, because they didn't have a program at the University of Maryland anymore.
Oh, hold up, pause. So before college, then what were your parents pushing you to? Because remember, like we said, it's like the arts, or were they already about the arts? Because they
my
saw
mom
that
didn't
growing up
push me so much, but she did say, you know, she made the appeal. I'll give credit to my mom. She has let me go and make my own mistakes and stuff like that. And I'll say, all right, so I'll share my story about the filmmaker thing, because when I was like, because the reminder came up on Facebook like 2 days ago. So it was, I guess, 2000. And I was saying to my mom, you know, she knew for several years that I wanted to be a filmmaker. And I don't know how we got to that point, to the point we got to, but she said to me, I don't think you're talented enough to be a filmmaker. And then she just listed the reasons why. And I was like, okay. And I was calm. I said, what do I have to do to prove to you that I can be a filmmaker? And I don't remember what she said, but she let me go. Because then I went to film school and incurred a whole bunch of debt, which I'm almost out of. And I'm very proud of that. But, you know, I went to film school, came back, and like I won't say for 8 years, I was just kind of like in the wilderness, because I made all my films. I did my acting and stuff like that. I wasn't making a lot of money during that time. I ran teleprompter for 8 years, which was a cool gig. It was a very cool gig. Met so many people, you know, ran teleprompter for Barack Obama and, you know, all kinds of famous people.
Very cool.
And then there was also one job where it was like the Bicolano Society or something like that. And I was like, oh, they're all Filipinos. This is cool. So, but then 2010, I got really down. I was trying to think, because Facebook's sending me this reminder. This is what you said 10 years ago. And it's like, so I'm trying to figure out what was the thing that depressed me so much. Because I said 10 years ago, so it would have been like 2000. My mom says, I don't think you're talented enough to be a filmmaker. Then in 2010, when I made that post, she said, don't give up. And I'm going to cry now. And now she has 4 Emmys on her mantelpiece. So that's another 10 years. So 20 years later, now she's got like 4 Emmys on her mantle. And
I love it.
And the funny thing is, like my doctor cousins, are like the proudest ones of me. They're like my biggest cheerleaders. You know, my Filipino family love like the fact that I'm, you know, doing that and doing well. And I think that's one secret to being accepted by your Filipino family. Go be successful. They're gonna like you. You know, they will claim you, man. So yeah. But like learn to speak Tagalog, be successful, you're in.
They will. That's
yeah, it's
that's the universal Filipino thing though. Hey, you know so and so, that person's Filipino.
That's right. That's right.
That's the icebreaker for anybody. I don't care how like removed from the culture you are. Like that's you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and I get excited when I find out that there's an actor or celebrity, whatever, who's Filipino. I'm like, yeah. In fact, I was watching a great show, CBS, or I don't know if it was CBS Sunday morning or the Saturday morning show. They're both good, but they're profiling like a chef in DC. And then it says his Filipino mother. And I was like, what? And so I got all excited and I was like, yeah.
One of us.
Like, yeah, right. He's like super successful now. And I was like, good. I said, that's awesome. So, all right, now I have to ask what the question was. I have no problem talking, but I do have.
You actually reminded me though, like
about
you and I, because that's like how I felt when I heard about you and met you. As an we met as actors, and we were talking about this before we started recording. I want to say it was Buddy Jackson, a short-lived web series here in the DC area, and
fun, very fun. Like
I had heard that you were Filipino. I don't know if it was Mike Panfield that told me or just whomever, but Francis Filipino. Oh, okay, and it's like that,
right?
Filipino radar, spider sense, like what about? Yeah, like
right. Yeah, absolutely.
And
it
then
totally is.
Finding out that you were a writer, and we then worked on, I think, Halloween 420.
Halloween 420,
which was brilliant and something that a lot of people, when at that time as an actor, you got to do that as a series. The three of y'all are classic. Like, yeah, it would be awesome. We should do every holiday 420.
Right.
Smoke weed on the holiday, like. And you're brilliant, and you helped put that together. And
that's right, yeah.
And then just other writing you've done, and like, I want to work with this guy, and yeah, and gosh, we're getting to college, so I talked about college, but like you know, my desire to learn. So Cebu, I'll talk about the script, right? Because that was sort of, you know, my filmmaking career. Made two feature films. Like I hit 30, and I was like, I have got to make a full-length movie, and like so I did. That was Boxing Day, featuring a lot of the people I met doing Buddy Jackson. And then Six Nonsmokers, or was that the second?
And Six Nonsmokers was like the movie after that, also featuring a lot of the people that I worked with on Buddy Jackson. I mean, that was like the acting gave me like the connections to then go start doing my own stuff. So that was like you know, great experience doing the acting and everything. I had started acting just by like getting in front of the camera. I mean, I was like, remember, super shy kid, right? And then when I got to film school, they just needed actors. And I was like, well, what the heck? I'll just start acting in these things. So I started acting for them. And people liked me, and I started ending up in a bunch of things. So if I was on set, I would be doing two things. I'd be acting and I'd be taking pictures, because I started that's when my love of photography started too, was in film school. So I would like be the set photographer and like taking photos on set. And then when I got back, I had no idea what I was going to do for my career. I ran back home with my tail between my legs, not knowing. It's like, okay, I've got this master's degree in film. What now? Because I didn't want to leave home. That's the thing. I didn't want to move out to LA. I'm sure it would have eaten me alive anyway. It's like without like a connection to like get me into some kind of job. I know I could go out there and succeed because I have confidence in my abilities and stuff like that. But it's a different world. And it's actually a different world from when I graduated from film school, because now we're talking 15 years ago. And it's so different now in terms of how like things are distributed. Shoot, like Warner Brothers is saying like, oh yeah, all our movies are going to be on HBO Max, which is crazy when you think about like how much they depended upon theaters and stuff. But yeah, so the acting led to the film stuff, and I did like short films and things. I never did anything about my like Filipino identity, about Like I don't know that I had a Filipino actor in anything like that. Sorry, Patrick. We're gonna change.
But
that.
we tried to. We were gonna
Yeah.
make it happen. We got busy.
It was something that it's been eluding me for forever. And that's something like when I watched the Denise episode, I got excited because I was like, they're talking to all these Filipino actors and they're all like excited to work with people. So I was like, okay. But,
I kind of want to ask about that.
Yeah.
You know, you've kind of said, you know, you recognize that you've been kind of white passing for
Yeah.
a lot of your
for sure.
like,
Yeah.
and you're in film and you
Mhm.
went to film school,
Yeah.
which is dominated by white
Right.
men.
Yeah.
And maybe you've even said that you didn't have a lot of like diversity necessarily in front of the camera, or at least not
Yeah.
anything that like connected with you.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is the industry, right? Like this is the pandemic for what filmmaking is.
Yeah. In terms of, like in terms of like white male dominated.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And I do think about that. And I have been fortunate, and I tried as much as possible to have like actors of color in my pieces, actors of color to collaborate with crew members who were from like diverse backgrounds and things like that. And I think they did pretty good. I was always like trying to incorporate more people, like not even consciously. It's just my natural thing because I think I was fortunate to grow up in a diverse community. So that was just natural to me to have like a mix of people always. And I'll say that like I was in like rural Virginia. I was driving through and I become hyper aware when it's like, it's all white people in here, you know, and I look around like, because I go to I was in like a convenience store, my 7-Eleven, it's like, I'm the only white looking person in there. Right. It's like, and I'm comfortable. It's like when I go to an area where it's like, I see they're all white people. And then I'm like, it's like, something's not right.
Now you start looking around.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm like, I'm not in any danger really. I mean, you know, because I look as white as they do, but it does. I mean, like it like triggers something in the back of my head where I'm just like, it's like, it doesn't feel right to me. But yeah, because there was not this big community of Filipino creatives that I knew of, that I was tapped into. That's why it's like kind of been the thing I've been chasing. And I think I've talked about it for a long time where I was like, I want to do, well, Patrick, I don't remember talking to Patrick about this, but I was like, but that shows how long I've been like wanting to do it. And it's just been a thing in the back of my head. So Cebu was actually, I mean, I say I started writing it 7 years ago, but it might be longer than that.
I want to say 07, 06 when we were talking.
Was it really?
I want to say,
about that project? My
bro.
God.
I remember Demetrius being around. I want to say it was like maybe after 6 Nonsmokers.
Really?
You're working on something. I can't remember what project it was, but yeah, we were trying to like.
Okay.
I think I was working on a project called Jipney that I was producing with Rose Jarvis.
Yeah.
And we had I think I was trying to get you involved with that, but just schedules and but
this is the other thing about.
It's been a minute.
I mean, and this is the other thing about like the indie film community. It's like the idea you talk about for a few weeks and then it's gone. You know?
Straight up.
Or maybe even a little longer than that. You may talk about it for a few years and then it's gone. But Cebu was like that thing. That was like, it's not just like, oh, I want to put some Filipinos in a movie. It's like, no, this is like all Filipino.
All right. I want the elevator pitch. I want we're in an elevator.
Oh my gosh.
You got the money to film to back your film. Sell it to me.
Shoot. See, the log line gives so much away. But here's what I was going to propose is like we do a reading on ShoPowSho, right?
Oh my God.
We get the actors like that you guys have been featuring here. And we do a reading.
That would be awesome.
I think I could probably get that together too.
All right.
You know what? Write that down. So you can write that down.
Okay. All right. We're going to do it. Cause I mean, that's what I started thinking when I saw cause I don't know a ton of like Filipino actors, as I said. I know like Patrick, you, and then maybe like 2 or 3 others in the area. And that's it. And then I was thinking like, I got to find out. But then like when you were showing them and I said, oh my God, we could do the Zoom reading. We can get like Filipino actors from across the country.
Shit.
That would be dope, man.
That would be dope.
Okay.
That might be like our kickoff 2021 like episode, maybe.
It's
You got me
cool.
thinking
I'm
already.
intrigued. You appealed to my personal interests. I'm
All right. But I will say there, I mean, I'll say some things about, I'll definitely tell you some things without giving too much of the plot away.
sure.
But like, you know, it's a multi-generational story. Like it features like 3 generations. So you've got the little boy, you got his mom, you got his grandparents. And because I wanted to capture that Filipino thing where it's like, okay, these are my parents born in the Philippines who have lived there for decades. Then my, you know, tita who came over here when she was young, right? And then the boy who's born here, right? So he has this combination of Filipino culture and American culture, and they're like this. So it's this mixture, and that's like the little boy who's like, it's about a mother and son, and the son, he like kind of mashes up all of this like pop culture and things that he hears, like stories from his grandfather, and he puts them all in his head, and they're all like in his imaginary world and stuff like that. And that's me. Like, you know, it's not like my mom and my relationship really, but I mean, like there are elements of the kid that are a lot like me. And Cebu is like Cebu, but as I would have written it as a kid, I would have heard it, you know, and then you write it down in like in English. So it's like it's gone through this filter.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I'm a writer too. I hate this topic about bullshit, but I get what you mean by like, even when you're writing something and it's not you, it is you, because it's
Right.
your experiences
Yeah.
repackaged in a way. You can only really write what you know or have observed. And so, you know, it's not exactly necessarily your experiences on the page, but it's definitely your world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, in this one, you know, I've written, I had to count the other day because I'd forgotten. I was like, they say that like you have to write like 10 scripts before you get good. So this is like, I've written 13 feature-length scripts now. So like feature
This is
movies.
excellent. Yeah.
And so like, and this one is the one that I've like poured a bit of my soul into. So yeah, it means a lot to me. And I would love, you know, I was getting like excited as I'm watching like, you know, Denise talk. I was like, oh my God, it's like, what if we do this reading here on the show? It's like,
I
because
gotta make
you're
that
watching
happen.
like,
I have to make that happen.
okay.
I feel like she
Love
totally
it.
found it.
I think so. I think so.
Patrick, you shared the script with Team
I-
Cat,
You know, I'll
right?
make it happen, and I think Denise would love it. Denise, since her appearance, invited us, well, all of us, to this group that is based out of LA. Nothing but Asian Pacific American actors, producers, just all of that, and it's been beautiful. And I'll present this to them, and we'll see. I want to make this happen. I totally want to make this happen. I love it.
Awesome.
I wanted to tag on because you poured your soul into this, and
Yeah.
this is like the most personal piece you've written, of anything you've written. Maybe not even just this piece. What was the hardest thing to write? I always think about that, and when talking to creatives now, you know, because you put your soul into this, like the most introspective thing you've ever done.
The thing
was
that's
it in
like,
this piece?
What's tough about this story, and like I've been having people read it over the years, and I know it's like the version that exists now is the strongest version of it, right? But the thing that kills me is taking out all the little touches of Filipino-ness, right? Because I've got like things where they're talking about food, and I got things where it's like describing like what the house looks like and all the wood carvings on the wall and all the Catholic stuff, and like all these little like Filipino touches. It's like I drop a little bit of history, but it's like I got to be brutal because it's got to move the story along, right? So it's like trying to retain as much of it as possible.
So that would be more like log notes or like descriptor notes for setting or design then. So
yeah, I mean, they would be. Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, you could definitely, I mean, you know, leave it in the hands of like a capable a Filipino art director.
Yeah,
right?
for
come
art
in
direction,
and like just like make it look like
Keep the aesthetic.
Right.
right,
Yeah.
keep the aesthetic.
But I understand within the script's confines to that,
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like because you know, a screenplay is kind of it's an instructional thing, right? I mean, like there's beauty in it, like the dialogue hopefully comes off the page and everything like that, and you can visualize. But it's really like, you know, when you think about like descriptive viewing for blind people, where they're describing what you see. I mean, that's kind of what a screenplay is, right? It's I know, you know, writers will take some license and they'll put maybe a little bit of flowery language, but not that much. So it has to be kind of get to the point. And then like tightening up that first act has been like the the biggest challenge, because like the response that I've been getting, like the most recent response is like the best. And it just like, it was a huge shot in the arm, because I was getting there. I could see it, like, you know, I let people read it. Rhonda, our friend Rhonda Mendoza,
shout out to Rhonda.
She read it, like she read an earlier version of it, and she was like, I cried. And I was like, yes. I was like, I know it's good. And then it was like showing like these non-Filipino like industry professionals the script, and it's like, okay, now what do you think? And like, so like gradually I've been building it up over time, like making it tighter, adding things, changing things. And then like, so I know that now it is definitely the best telling of the story, even if I lose the little details that I love. But I'm still tightening up that first act. And like, I've had, like during the pandemic, I was like, I'm coming back to the script. I'm coming back because I love it so much. And I was in the I walking around. I like to walk. Walk's good for exercise for me, and my joints can't handle anything more than that. But and then that's like, you know, like when I just have that kind of quiet time, that's when, you know, all the ideas come. And I was just visualizing the ending, walking around in Iloilo, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, we're doing this. So like I had like these great ideas, and then I did. I think I came back and I did like a rewrite of that, and then walked away from it for a little while again. And then the pandemic comes, and I'm just like, all right, I'm going back to the script. Let's do it. And I don't even know what prompted it. I think it's just like a kind of a shot of creativity. I think part of it was watching Filipino movies on Netflix. Because like this is again how the internet was like a complete game changer for everything. Because coming back from going to the Philippines in 2019, I had my smartphone unlocked and could put in a SIM card. I got a SIM card and a load, as they say in the Philippines. You have to have load, which is because it's all prepaid, right? You prepay your minutes, and so I'm using it all the time. And like, you know, whereas people are like, it's like, come on, enjoy it. But what was cool to me is that I'm taking everybody with me. It's like all of my American friends, I'm like, check this out. Oh my God, this is so cool. And like, I'm sharing all of this stuff with them. And the fact that my dad had the heart attack and we were able to talk to him. Here we are in my tito's van in Iloilo on this bumpy road. And we're talking to my dad in his hospital bed. And I was like, that gives us such comfort. Right. Then if we couldn't, like, you know, it's like, okay, it's like, we got to wait till tonight. And then so-and-so has a phone and we can like call him from there, you know? So to be able to be like in the car and like talking to my dad to make sure he's all right, that was like a huge comfort. But like sort of like where I still got one foot in America. So I'm more comfortable and I'm like looking, like able to share the whole experience with everybody. And shoot, all of my cousins are like in their phone all the time. What's hilarious to me, it's like teenagers in the United States, they wouldn't touch Facebook. It's for old people. My Filipino cousins who are teenagers have like 4 and 5 accounts so they can like, you know, play Farmville or something like that. You know? So they're very active. And then I did see like a lot of, and they became TikTokers in the pandemic, some of them. So, totally unrelated. Not completely. I'm going to talk about two of my cousins, Robien and Reville. They're like super talented artists. One of Reville lives in, he's actually a Canadian citizen now, lives in Toronto, and then Robien's in both, obviously Reville living in a English speaking country, fluent in English, but Robien was like my best friend over in the Philippines because he's like fluent English. It's like, oh, this is great. It's like we can talk about all kinds of things. But both brilliant artists. And so I felt like I said, oh man, our generation, we got all this talent. So yeah, like having that connection and everything. I think all of that sort of contributed to sparking coming back to the script. And then, like I said, I think out of curiosity, I was like, oh, what movies do they have on Netflix for Philippine films? They have like all the movies. It's like all of these movies. And like what's really hilarious is I think a lot of them, like Filipinos love movies where people cry. And there's a lot of crying in my script. And so that was actually one note. It's like, I don't think she should cry here. I was like, no, she should definitely be crying here. Definitely be crying. And like my tito told me once, this is the father of my 7 cousins. He says, yeah, he said, you should make movies in the Philippines. He said, if you do, there should be a lot of crying. Filipinos like a lot of crying. I was like, okay. And then as I'm watching the Filipino movies, I was like, yeah, he's absolutely right. It's like they're crying every other scene. And like, And they're like movies that like, if they were American actors, it's like, this is a Hallmark movie, 100%. But like, for some reason, it's like, I watch the Filipino ones. It's like, this is my culture, man. It's like the Hallmark movies. I'm like, oh God. But
Is this going to be the Filipino farewell? Remember Aquafina's farewell? I don't know if y'all saw it, but yeah, I cried like a...
Yeah.
Well, that is not a Hallmark movie.
No.
Right. No, that is not a Hallmark movie. No. And a lot of, I mean, there's varying levels. I mean, there's a lot of, straight rom-coms, but then there's like, a lot of romantic movies and things like that. And I'm just kind of watching them to like pick up the language, and I'm finding out about the actors and stuff like that, who are the big stars in the Philippines. And it's wild because they have like Instagrams and stuff like that with millions of followers, and YouTube channels with millions of followers. I'm like, wow. And that's because Filipinos, they like I said, they'll be your biggest cheerleaders if you start doing well. And that's why I think, part of the reason I wanted to start making movies for that audience, because it's like, because they love it. And I think that, making a movie, like movies that are set here, they do films that are set. There's one I still have yet to watch. I saw like teased on Netflix. It's like, they're shooting in New York City. I was like, when did this happen? Not like I'm supposed to know that, it happened, but I was like, they're coming over here shooting in New York City. And so like, and because all of the old barriers and stuff like that have kind of dropped with the internet. I mean, there's still gatekeepers and stuff as far as that, but I think your chances are a lot better now. Like to get a movie that's in English and Tagalog on Netflix, that's like realistic now. Even when I was making movies 10 years ago, my first feature, it's like, try to find distribution for it. It was so hard, but now there's like a lot of options. And Patrick and I have friends who are out there doing it. They're making movies. They're getting them on Netflix, Amazon, all these things. I got friends, Kelly and Seth, who are, they're making documentaries, but they're appealing to, not just documentaries. I helped them on a film for Dungeons and Dragons, right? And like it's appealing to that demographic. You got that community.
Tina, I think, would love it. Tina's all about that. Yeah.
So like, of Dyson Men, and Eye of the Beholder is a documentary about the art of Dungeons and Dragons, but they're making money off of that. And it's like fantastic to see where it's viable. That was the thing. It's just like movies were, I had every intention of making money, but it's not as easy as it sounds. But now it's like, now you can find an audience and you can create movies for that audience. So I'm really like eager to do that for, start making some movies with Filipino actors here.
Yeah.
To do that.
So, so with the internet and learning about our history, and that's has been very fruitful for us now as old guys,
right?
From back in our America Online days.
Yeah.
So now learning history, and then as you're putting together Cebu, are there any stories that you've fallen in love with, or stories you want to tell once you started learning some of our heroes in our culture? I know for me, and I'll do this specifically for the Ates, is when I learned about the Battle of Mactan story and Lapu Lapu, and recently on the show we had Chavi de Guzman, who would be my Lapu Lapu with his glorious hair. And I just got to get Oscar Isaac to play our Magellan, because fuck Magellan, but Oscar Isaac is brilliant, so I think he would be perfect as Magellan. So what about you, Francis?
Well, there's a lot of just stories that I've heard about that are interesting to me, not even necessarily like big historical stories.
Okay.
But one thing that I'll actually, so somebody used to have on the show, my kuya Sunny Isan, he is a documentary filmmaker from Quezon City, immigrated to the U.S., studied here, got married, and then now he's been here for like almost as long as my mom, I think. But he finds those Filipino stories, like it's like about the soldiers in World War II who fought for the U.S. and stuff. And one story that's amazing that I forget the exact number, but the Philippines took in like 1,500 Jews to protect them from the Holocaust. And he has a documentary called An Open Door about that, and talks to survivors. And it's like, it's like, wait, I didn't know that happened. And then what's crazy is I'm watching that documentary, And then it reaches a certain point, and I'm like, oh, right, the Japanese. I completely forget. Like, as I'm watching this movie, I was like, wait a minute, the Philippines was invaded by Japan. And what was crazy is that like those Jews who had like German passports were okay, because they were like, they're part of the Axis, right? They said, oh, you're okay. So they didn't even like recognize the fact that like, I mean, they were like PNG, they're like persona non grata, right? They like, you know, you don't exist. The Jews did not exist because I think it's like marked on their passport. The Japanese didn't care. They just saw the German passport and they're like, you're all right. So, I mean, like there's amazing stories that came out of that. And, you know, you hear like these really grateful survivors who are just like, you know, how they love the Philippines and are so grateful to the Philippines for taking them in. And they'll talk about like, you know, how they love ensaymada and like, and eat rice every meal. So they're like, you know, like, they return home and they're like, Jewish friends are like, you eat rice at every meal. What's that about? You know? So, you know, those, so there's
rice and corned beef, you know?
right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's definitely somebody you should talk to. He's got tons of stories. And I mean, he's like a walking history book. So it's fantastic. I will say that like one of the things that I discovered as I'm studying, I think I kind of like said, oh, you know what? I'll write something about Filipino folklore. I don't even know how it like started, but I mean, that's Cebu, because Cebu, I said, they've got to have like some myths and legends and stuff. And I started researching that. And what I found is that just like the language, regions have different stories. They have different stories and it's all kind of oral, right? Nothing's written down. So it's like myths and legends and stuff like that. And you see them starting to like get into the popular culture. It's like, oh, there's an aswang and like, you know, this show, it's like, watch this show. And then like, here's like this Filipino monster and stuff. So, so that's cool. But I like took it all and I like took all the different regions. And because my, the story is kind of through the lens of this little boy, he just rams them all together because his Lolo tells him these stories and he's like, he doesn't make distinctions about where they come from. He just tells him the story. So the little boy in his head, he's just kind of like putting them all in one place. And so that's like that's what I kind of discovered as I was reading it. I was like, oh, I got a lot of license here. I can really kind of like just create my own narrative with it because it's not like a hard and fast thing. It's not like a Greek mythology where you have like the gods and there's a very clear narrative for the gods and stuff like that. It's like, no, there's just different little stories from places. And there's different creation myths from different parts of the Philippines and stuff like that. Now, I'm not a scholar on this by any means. It's like my half-assed internet research. The way I get away with stuff is like, oh, it's fantasy, man. It's fantasy. So
I think that's so interesting though, that you mentioned like the Greek myths, because of course, you know, we think of like, oh, these are the Greek myths. Here's the like core. Everybody knows Hades, Persephone, and everybody knows Zeus and Mount Olympus and Hercules and everything. But then, you know, if you dig into like the history of it, then there's all this, you know, the Greek and Roman empires conquering and just kind of forcing. It would be as if in the Philippines, all of those stories were forced to be one cohesive mass. And so even though we didn't get that, we had, you know, suppression, Catholicism, stuff like that going on instead. In some ways it's kind of fortunate because those in isolated stories were able to kind of like continue.
Yeah. And I don't know if and it may be just because, I mean, the thing about the Philippines, it's like 7,000 islands. So it's probably just impossible to try to do that. But I think what, you know, I've heard, I don't know if this, I think it's true of wherever the Spanish colonized, the Spanish and the Portuguese, whoever was like bringing Catholicism to a country, what they would do is they kind of superimpose it on their beliefs, right? So they're going to say, it's like, okay, this guy here, that's God the Father. And then like, you know, they just kind of rename the people in their various like, you know, belief systems. And so that's how they could get them to accept Catholicism by like merging the two together.
No, this is the same thing. It's
right. Yeah. It's like, yeah. So, I mean, like you've got your creation stories and stuff. It's like, here's our creation story. So you just change that guy for this person. And then, yeah. Yeah, but that was, it was cool reading that. And I mean, that was like 7 years, like the core of my research. I don't know how long I spent researching. It's not an impressive amount of time, but I did read. That was the thing. Cause it's like, there's not a ton written about it. I think probably there might be now, or I couldn't find it back then. I think now if I looked, I have actually looked, I've gone and like said, it's like, okay. And there are like some books about like Filipino myths. And I think like what, more contemporary authors and stuff like that have taken them and they've written stories. And I know that they're like, I discovered one of the things that I found was like a graphic novel that someone had done and like taken those like mythological creatures and like kind of put them in there. So yeah, it was, but a lot of, but there has been, it's like, as I have learned over these 7 years more about certain things, I will put them in there. And like Filipino martial arts is featured. But like words, it's mainly words. It's like I started adding more of those. It's like as I'm watching films and like picking up more of the language, it's like I'll just sprinkle it in because that's really how Filipinos mix of like English and Tagalog and yeah, so you can like just pick out the words and I find it funny because as I start to understand more and you watch the subtitles on these films, it's like you hear them calling their children anak, but like I mean, I think in here it'd be weird if your like parent was constantly calling you son, daughter, daughter. So they always put the name in because they're like, it's like, no, that's weird. It's like, no, just put the name in. It's like, so things that are lost in translation. But I'm throwing it in there because it's like, that's how native speakers talk. So it's like, that's what I want to have in there for the parents. Yeah. And I mean, and it's like, that generation, like, for the longest time, my knowledge of Tagalog or my mom's dialect was Lola, Tito, Tita. That was it. It's like I could, I had the honorifics for my immediate family, and that was it. So as I started to pick more up, then I started putting more into the script, yeah. But I continue to learn. Yeah, I don't want to like, I was just like, once I did my initial research, it's like that is the story, and like then I just focused on like on making it the best story possible. I would love to go back and like kind of learn more about the myths. And there's one, I discovered this amazing Facebook page where there's an artist, Filipino artist, who like renders these like mythological figures, and they're like, he's phenomenal. I was just like, oh my God, that's so cool. Because they're the character, especially because they're the characters I wrote into the story. So when I see them like in these amazing drawings and stuff like that, it's like, it just brings it to life. Yeah. And sort of related, because I feel like it could potentially be an animated film, just given that it's fantasy and things and everything. Did you all see the little 3-minute Disney film about the paroles?
Oh, yes, we have. And we actually have a special that we'll have on our Patreon. I actually made paroles. After seeing that, I cried again and cried some more, and then called my mom to tell her I love her. And then after that, I think I shared to the Ates and talked to her about it. And I know they all cried their hearts out. And I know Tina has a special connection because she actually fixes dolls. But oh yeah, okay. I recently, I think like a week or two ago, I decided, you know what, this is my people, this is my culture, this is our tradition, and it's now a tradition in our household. We actually made paroles, my wife and daughter and I, and put together a little Patreon special. So if people go to our Patreon, you can see us making paroles, and then I included the Disney UK video, and it's just so sweet, man. Actually, if I would suggest, if you don't know the history of the Star Paper Lantern, check out Kirby Arulo on YouTube. He breaks it down. It was actually something prior to Catholicism coming with Magellan and all of that. It was being done before, Christ and Christmas and all that. It was a tradition in the religion, the God worshiping that we had before Christianity came. So they were already all about the star lanterns and paroles. So very interesting. So for those that don't know, or if you're not aware, Francis, check out Kirby Arolo. Awesome guy. You'll learn a lot. And again, you're trying to learn more about the culture. And Kirby is like my go-to on my YouTube when I want to learn about the culture. So shout out to Kirby Arolo, man.
I will definitely check that out. I've learned so much from YouTube. Like, I should get like another degree just like from YouTube, like YouTube education. Yeah. But yeah, that's my first stop now for if I'm trying to learn about anything. That's like just picking up some Tagalog YouTube. There's plenty of videos there, and that actually got me. I found a FilipinoPod101.com video, and like now I've subscribed for like 2 years. It's like, okay, I'm in. It's like we're doing this. So yeah, I'm taking lessons and things now, and it's again all things that weren't available even 10 years ago. So I'm just like it's a wonderful time.
FYI, you say AOL to Kat and Tina because they will make fun when we say America Online. They're like, it's AOL. It's not. that shows our age, bro.
Yeah.
Do you remember were you part of did you have AOL back in the day? Were you on like the Panay chat room? That was like
I wasn't
chat room back in the day. Oh, you were?
Because I didn't know like, that those
pre-Facebook, pre-MySpace, that was the shit.
It's like, weirdly, I think a lot of introverts, maybe they become more social when they have like those kind of opportunities and stuff like that. I wasn't. I didn't like, those things. It's like I just remained very like kind of close up. I was like, I would be what you would term a lurker, depending on like the topic. Like there was like a message board or something like that I was maybe interested in. Yeah, I would go and read those things, but I didn't interact with a ton of people online.
Yeah, it was a message board
other than my friends I knew in real life.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now it's like, I don't know if there's like any particular source for, I mean, like what you've told me, like I'm discovering it all now. That's like the funny thing. Learning so much about my culture from the comfort of my own home, some, thousands of miles away. But yeah, it's fantastic. In fact, before we went back to the Philippines, I said, there's gotta be, somebody's done like a travel video. And it was great. And it was fantastic because you could see, I was like, there it is. It's like, oh my God, there's Iloilo. And he's like going around, it's like, oh my God, it's completely different from how I remember from 22 years ago. And it's really developed. I mean, it's developed a lot. And I mean, not in a bad way. I mean, it's really great. I remember like where my mom's like the ancestral home is in the village and stuff like that. That was a dirt road when we were there 22 years ago, I think it was a dirt road like 22 years ago. At least it wasn't my first visit, but now they've got like a full on paved road. There are still like people dangerously out like side the jeepney and stuff like that hanging on. And I'm just like, that doesn't look safe. But that's still going on. But at least now it's a nice paved road. So you're not bouncing all the time. But yeah, he was a Canadian guy. He's a Canadian guy and he has like a series called Becoming Filipino. And he's been like multiple times and he does like this like whole, just like really great tours and you can see everything. So, and then once again, YouTube, I was like, I know somebody's going to have done this. And then there's like drone tours and like people do like drones of like different areas and it's fantastic. So if you haven't been yet, I mean, it's a great way to like at least get a taste of the country. And definitely if you go, try to spend as much time as you can because 2 weeks is really not a lot. 2 weeks is like enough to go say hi to a few people, see a few things, but it's like not, you really want to soak it up and you want to be there for a while.
I feel it.
And it's cheap. So it's feasible.
Okay.
It's really cheap to eat, which is fantastic. And then like accommodations are not that expensive.
Love it. So what are some of the goals you have coming up, my man? And for the Cebu script. So I guess now that you're comfortable with this latest version of it, I can't wait to dive in and hopefully, we can make that happen and I can help you produce that or whatever. But we'll definitely make that script reading happen. I'm definitely going to make that hashtag goals for various.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is like,
so what's the plan for that and other projects you may have that you want to talk on?
Well, that's like, I mean, Cebu is trying to figure out the next step. I really don't know. It is like, I mean, one of the main things was just like show people I can write. Right. That was like one of the big things. It's like, just get it.
You can, come on, man.
It's the best thing
I'll be your hype man, bro.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think it's the best thing I've written because it is, as Kat was saying, it's like, you write what you know, right? So this is the closest to me. It's the closest to me. And it's like, as I said, I poured a little bit of my soul into it. So it's definitely the best thing I've written. And I'm just trying to get like some recognition of my writing on it. And then, if I can find a way to get it made, and that's why I say it could be an animated film because I'd love to get it to Bobby Rubio. if you know Bobby Rubio, the
do.
man behind Float, right? Of course.
I do.
So I'm like, you know,
you'll be on
so
the
it's like-
episode on the show soon, and we're
Really?
Facebook friends.
Excellent.
I met him when I went out to Pixar last year. Actually,
Okay.
we were communicating before I went out to meet him.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Bobby, see what's good.
All right. Yeah. Because like I said, I feel like it could be a Pixar movie, maybe. Because it's like I was trying to think. It's like it's sort of like Never Ending Story dark, but not quite Pan's Labyrinth dark. So because Pan's Labyrinth is like next level dark for a kids movie. But you know, after that, I've got a pandemic rom-com that I want to make with Filipino actors. Like my first movie was 6 actors in a house, right? So I said I want to get back to that because now I've learned so much. I can shoot now. I couldn't shoot back then. And I want to do something like that where it's just like this simple film, 2 people. It's like the pandemic. The idea being like somebody gets stranded here and then has to like house with someone, and then that's the basic premise. So I'm working on the screenplay right now.
Okay.
And then you know, it's like trying to make those connections. I've been watching the films here, and I'm like taking notes. It's like, okay, what are the production? There's one production company. It's like Star Cinema, which is ABS-CBN, right? That's like the name in making movies over there.
Yep.
So and as far as distribution, so I'm like trying to figure that out. And then are you going to get anybody from Yellow Rose on?
Diana Paragas, I've already spoken with her, communicated online. Just got to set the date. Yeah, and then we hope to have
awesome.
the lead, Evelyn Noblezada, on shortly as well. But yeah, been speaking with Diana because, dude, how proud are we of her to have the first Filipino-American distributed film, you know, with Yellow Rose.
It was, I mean, and that's a thing where it's like, you know, what I realized, because I went to the theaters. It's the only movie I risked the pandemic.
You braved quarantine. You braved COVID for that.
I braved COVID for Yellow Rose because it's like I want to go see this movie, and I was the only one in the theater because it's like because nobody's going to see movies right now.
Yeah.
And that's why it was in every theater. I said I cannot believe this is in every theater, but I realized it's because they don't want to put the big movies out. So the little movies are getting like these huge runs in all the big theaters. So that was amazing. And I'm thrilled for them. And I think that, like, you know, you see Star Cinema, ABS-CBN, like on the credits there. So it's like, you know, they had the cooperation of the, I don't know how much of a role the Filipino film industry had with that particular film, but, you know, I'm taking notes. So I'm trying to bridge the divide there on that. But yeah, that was one of the pandemic highlights, the handful of pandemic highlights.
Awesome. Yes. So stay tuned, everybody. Diana Paragas coming soon. ShoPowSho. And yeah, beautiful.
So it's time for our nerd check, where we ask you, as the nerds of color, what is your nerd specialty? If you had to give a TED Talk and go all out and show your passion for one nerdy thing, what is your subject?
All right. I'm going to make this incredibly specific.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. More niche, the better.
Okay. Because I'm a generalist. So there's a lot of things that I like, but I'm not like super nerdy on any one thing, I don't think. But Red Dwarf, are you familiar? Is it crickets? Oh my God. You guys don't know what I'm talking about.
Is that a show?
It's a British show.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's a sci-fi comedy.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like one of those things you would watch on PBS, like back in the day, right? So like seasons 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think are like, that's my wheelhouse right there. It's like, because I like literally, I would like, you know, I'd listen to them to go to bed. And that's like my area because everything else, it's like, it gets too big. I can't, like I would have said Game of Thrones. It's like, no, it got too big. I can't follow everything. It's like with that, it's like you have 5 principal characters. And it's like, and I listen to those episodes where I can almost recite some from memory.
All right. What's your favorite episode? Just give me a rundown. Pick one.
Okay. It would probably be Wax World.
Okay.
So one of the, which is probably an odd choice because I don't think a lot of other people like it, but Chris Berry, who is this wonderful British actor who it always stuns me. He hasn't like done a ton of work. If you watch the Tomb Raider movies, he plays the butler, not the new one, but the Angelina Jolie ones.
Yeah.
He was the butler. And so he's like an amazing impressionist and just really good. But he like is sort of this failure in life, and he's a hologram. He's brought back from the dead as a hologram. And they land on this wax world planet, which is basically like a planet like Westworld, sort of like Westworld. But they're all like historical wax droids, and they've gone to war, and they're like like the bad guys are trying to melt down the good guys, and the bad guys include like Hitler, Mussolini, Caligula, and like all these like historical baddies, and then the good guys are like good historical figures, and so they're trying to take them, melt them down, and make more of their own. And so Rimmer, that's the character that Chris Berry plays, lands on this planet. And like he sees what's going on, and he's like, I was destined for this moment, because he's got these aspirations of like military greatness, but he's just this colossal failure in life. So it's like impossible for him to do it. But now he kind of sees these, like the situation. It's like I was born to lead these like this misfit band to victory, and he like does, but he basically wipes out everybody. He wipes out the entire population of the planet.
This is a really intense Night at the Museum 4 that you're telling me about.
Yeah, Red Dwarf, love that show. Like 3, 4, 5, and 6 were like the gold standard. It's gone on for a bunch of years, and they actually just had like a movie come out on British TV, but like it got really bad. It got better, but those were the, if you have to watch, those are the seasons to watch. Yeah.
Comes with the Francis Abbey seal of approval.
Yes, got my seal of approval. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Can you tell our audience where they can find you and follow along with your projects in the future? Yeah.
Well, follow my Instagram, Francis Abbey, just like my name. And then I do have a Facebook page, which I promise I'll do more with. Cisco Vargas Pictures. That's like my photography mainly. But if things start cooking on the movie front again, then I'll start talking about it there. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
All right. Yo, Kuya Francis, man. Miss you, bro. Hope everything that you want happens for you. And I will make the script reading happen. I promise. I think I can do it. I know I can. I'm Kuya P, man. I make it happen. We'll have that script writing of script reading of Cebu happen, and so stay tuned to that. We'll make that happen. But yeah, let's make Cebu happen, bro. I miss you. I love what you've been doing. I've been, even though we've been apart in a way and been busy doing our own thing, thankfully for social networking, man, we get to still see what our friends are doing, and so I've been cheering from the sidelines for you, bro. So much success, much love, bro. And yeah, can't wait to have you on when I think we'll have you on and do the script reading, and then hopefully we're launching and we're producing Cebu, man. We're gonna make that happen.
Yes.
Love it.
All right, brother. Great to see you. And now we're gonna talk about you. So you watch the show. Keep watching. We're gonna be doing that. All right, bro. All right, there we go. That is Kuya Francis Abbey. Please check him out. All of his information will be in the description below. I've known the brother for a while. When I'm telling you he's talented, he is amazing. If you go to my personal YouTube page, I have Halloween 420, which was this amazing competition piece we did for this National Film Challenge. And it was beautiful. We played some stoners on Halloween. It was actually, I don't even think it was Halloween. We just wanted to get stoned and we wanted to get some candy because we were so hungry. And he does an amazing couple of characters within the piece. So, but just a great guy, amazing writer, producer, and you can check out 6 Nonsmokers and Boxing Day, a couple of films. I think they're available on Amazon Prime and hopefully soon. And if we could get this Cebu to happen, I think it'll be amazing. And yeah, so ladies, my boy Kuya Francis, what do y'all think?
Always great to hear from another Filipino creator, and always interesting to hear different mestizo experiences.
Yeah, the mestizo story, another very relatable for us in those terms. And growing up Catholic, but he was raised very Catholic.
Yeah.
All cool. one of like with 7 girls, I think it was one of the stories you said in like middle school or something like that.
In the advanced classes.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really cool. I think he was one of the first mestizo guests that we've had.
Maybe. You know what? I think that might be right.
It was really cool. And of course, it's really nice hearing someone else say like, hey, your experience is my experience. So it's like, I see me in you. So, that's why we're doing this. We're doing this to find and connect with our culture, and it's happening. So
so beautiful. Yeah. This is the Filipino American story. This is all of us. And hopefully you all are getting inspired and educated along the way, and know that you are not alone. We're learning together as we're talking that we're not alone for us. And then now y'all are experiencing it as well. So thank you so much. And to Francis that was peeping the episodes before he came on and just relating with that. And it's speaking to him. That's the greatest compliment you can give us as the people that are putting this together. Just continue to share your story and, know that you're not alone. It's so beautiful. Love it. That was a great one. And so let's tell them how they can reach out to us. If there's people you suggest or topics you want us to discuss, let us know in the comments. Hit us up. And so Kat, tell them how they can hit you up.
I am Cataphoric at Twitter and Instagram. We also have the ShoPowSho TikTok if you want to give us a follow. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, you can support us by buying us a coffee, or for a little more behind the scenes action, you can check out our Patreon.
Yes.
And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at viva.valentina, and on Twitter and chess.com at Viva Valentina XO. So play me in chess. I'm on it.
Love it. Our chess bully. Because we're going in. I love it. Shout out to Cataphoric. Shout out to Viva Valentina. Love y'all. The amazing Ates. I am Kuyapi, aka Patrick Michael Strange, holding it down here at ShoPowSho, and also holding it down at the NRW and at New Release Wednesday, where nerds rule the world. That's our big pop culture sphere show where we talk about all kinds of films, TV series, and comic books. And then at our big daddy, the Nerds of Color. And that's at the Nerds of Color everywhere, where we spotlight us as POCs within the pop culture sphere. So we hope you'll check it out. We hope you'll support us on our Coffee and a Patreon. Help us, do what we love and continue to give you that content. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Mahakita salamat. We out of here. Deuces.
Filipino mean to me? It is half of me, which is the biggest part of me, actually. And it is a part that I have not known for most of my life. But now that I'm an adult, I am getting back in touch with that culture. And it is a culture of love, a love of food, a love of people, a love of singing, of acting. And I am very happy to be part of that culture. And I look forward to discovering more about it. And that's what being Filipino means to me.